Hello everyone, welcome to an exciting episode of Gothic Gardening. Today we're going to talk about cutting down a tree, or another way to put that, destroying hierarchy, which sounds a lot more exciting. So the tree in question that I'm going to be taking down today, I already took off pieces of it. It had some branches right here that were actually growing up into the power lines, which are right above me on this side. I would move the camera to actually show you those power lines, but I'm using a Rode mic on top of this camera that doesn't quite attach right, and every time I move the camera in any way, it kind of falls off. So for now, it's gonna be a very static camera position, but hopefully I'll have a better rig in the future. So I met with the tree and I told it that we needed to look at some reforms. So I went ahead and brought along my reform tool and I removed a lot of the branches that were aimed at power lines. The issue was after I cut off my problem limbs, it started to grow back, like other limbs around it started to grow and take in the area that the problem limb had been in, and so those limbs were now all aimed at the power lines again. So it was only a matter of time before my reforms that I'd used on the tree wore off, and we were right back to square one. So what do you do when your reforms don't seem to work because the problem is the structure itself? You remove it entirely. So today, that's what I'm going to be doing. For the record, this tree trunk is approximately 6 feet, about 6 feet tall, give or take, and it's going to weigh a couple hundred pounds. I don't want to have to deal with that because I'm not ripped and buff yet. I'm lazy still, lazy and soft like a marshmallow. The laziest of candied foods. Are marshmallows a candy? So once I have this cut into smaller pieces, I should be able to take them over to the burn pile in the backyard where I'm going to be taking care of the air potatoes I removed a few weeks ago, if you remember that video. I hadn't had the chance to actually burn them yet, which is the only way to kill them, by the way, because we had a lot of inclement weather and whatnot, and they're not dead. They're alive in my burn pile, and they're actually growing and thriving. So I need to burn them soon if I want to make sure that they're not going to be an issue in the future from that part of my yard. But I don't have a lot of wood I can really use this line around, but I do have this, and while it may not burn all that well because this tree is definitely alive, it'll eventually catch, and I'll eventually get rid of my air potatoes, which would be nice. So I would kind of be killing two birds with one stone, as it were. I take care of the air potatoes, and I destroy a troublesome hierarchy that threatened my home. So like I mentioned before, this tree trunk is about 6 feet tall, weighs a couple hundred pounds. I'm not going to be able to do it all in one go and heft it over in the backyard. And even if I could, if you take something out at the base, you end up with basically the whole structure still intact. And it's a lot harder to take care of. It's easier to focus on smaller individual sections to remove, especially if you don't have a lot of person power. I'm the only one who really does this kind of work in the yard. Love my wife, she's fantastic, but she tends to leave all the sweaty grunt work to me, which I can respect that. If I had somebody I could leave the sweaty grunt work to, I probably would as well, but I don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it because I'm too much of a cheapskate to pay anyone to do it for me. What I'm gonna do for illustrative purposes is cut the tree right about here. Can you see that? Oh, you can't even see that. Let's reframe. One of the things I wanted to do, make sure while I do all my yard work and whatnot, is that I don't have just one arm doing all the work since I'm relying on manual tools. So every now and then I switch it up because I don't want to end up having one huge arm and one tiny arm. People might think I'm a teenager with a lot of spare time or something. This is riveting television, I'm sure. Here we go. Getting loose. Oh, excellent, finally. So that is about a third of the job done. I'm gonna do 2 more chunks out of this and then probably gonna call it a day. If I don't call it a day after this, because it's very hot out here. I have a lot of other yard work I also have to get done today, such as dealing with a lot of grass and doing some clear cutting back along the side so I can get more material to burn the air potatoes with. But I guess the moral of the story here is reforms are meaningless and don't actually deal with the issue as long as the structure still remains. So remove the structure and build something that doesn't cause the same problems. You be safe out there, guys. Wear a mask. There's a plague on.